Hey everyone, my name is Iasmina and welcome back to my channel. Today I have a very exciting video for you guys, one that I've been planning to do for a very long time. You can't be a booktuber without a bookshelf tour. So today I'm going to show you around my bookshelf. This baby right here behind me, it's full of books and we'll go through it one by one. I'll start with the general overview and show you like all of the sections and kind of what I have in each section. And then we'll go in depth and show you each and every book in my bookshelf. Hey guys, just a quick message before this video because I forgot to mention it in the video. Just a quick disclaimer, these are not all the books I've ever owned, these are just books that I currently have on my shelves. I usually like to regulate the amount of books I own, and so I get rid of some that I don't necessarily want to keep, and I always get new ones. Plus, you know, I have a lot more books back in my hometown in Romania, so I have a shelf there, and you know, this is just like the current state of my bookshelf, but it's not like all the books I've ever owned and things like that. Plus I have like a ton more books on my Kindle, but you know, just a quick disclaimer, that's where this is also. Can you see? Cute sleepy cat. So I hope you guys are excited about this because I am, and yeah, without further ado, let's get straight into my bookshelf tour. Finally! Okay, so I'll start with a general overview of each section, and you can already see that on top of here is pretty much my Harry Potter shelf. It's not a shelf, but it's literally the top of the bookshelf, is where I just put all my Harry Potter books and my Harry Potter stuff. And then these two shelves are pretty much like my favorite fantasy series that I have. It's not all of my favorites, but as much as I could fit in these two bookshelves. These two shelves are kind of a continuation of that. It's some of my favorites and then some just random books that I didn't have any other space to put. So yeah, this is pretty much all fantasy, and this is fantasy and sci-fi. And here at the bottom two shelves, this is very difficult to film. This is my contemporary shelf, and then some random fantasy hardbacks because there's literally no other place for them, so I'm kind of starting to have to double stack. And yeah, some more contemporary and a couple of fantasy here. Again, it's not like incredibly organized, this bookshelf. And then here I have some sort of thrillers and some more sci-fi. Down here, this is all of my sort of graphic novels and manga that I have right now. And then this section is mostly unread books, and again I had to like stack them all up here because I have no space. And then over here is mostly just nonfiction. So that was a general overview of all the shelves, and now I will go one shelf at a time and show you all the books on there. And I'm also going to get off the floor for a little while. I have to come back down here because this shelf is like impossible to film. So let's get on to it. Okay, so starting from the topmost shelf, or literally the top of the bookshelf. You can't see me, but I'm here. Hi. So this is pretty much my Harry Potter shelf. So let's just start. This is just a wedding card that we keep here. First thing here we have a Danish audiobook of the Goblet of Fire, which my husband, he read all of the Harry Potter books in Danish. That's one of the ways he started learning Danish, so we have that random one. Then in the same vein we have the first Harry Potter book, Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone, in Danish for the same reasons. Then I have The Thing That Must Not Exist, Harry Potter and the Cursed Child, definitely not by J.K. Rowling, totally by John Tiffany and Jack Thorne. I wish I could burn this, but it is a first edition hardback book, and I don't know, I might just keep it for a very special burning ritual at some point. And then we have the first three beautiful illustrated edition of the Harry Potter books. Well, it's, you know what I mean. Philosopher's Stone, Chamber of Secrets, Prisoner of Azkaban. These are the only three that are out now. So I'm waiting for Goblet of Fire to hopefully come out this year. Then I have the Hogwarts library books, Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them, Quidditch Throughout the Ages, and Tales of Beetle the Bard. Then I have a very dusty Snitch. I also have a wand. This is Nymphadora's wand. I don't know if you can see that. Then I have these two sort of collector's items. Oh, sorry about that. These are the coins in the Harry Potter world, and these are bookmarks of the Hogwarts houses. I also have a very old and kind of rusty time turner here. And then I have this beauty of a collection. These are the adult edition of the British Harry Potter books. And here we have the entire Harry Potter series in the adult British edition. They're nice little sort of mass market paperbacks, so nothing special, but just I like that they come in a little box set. I think they're nice. This is a 11 and Demogorgon figure. Here then I have a thing that I really quite like. Sorry about the glare from the light. This is a quote from Albus Dumbledore that says, "Happiness can be found even in the darkest of times if one only remembers to turn on the light." I think that's very nice, so I framed it and I just have it here on my Harry Potter shelf. Okay, and that's everything on this top shelf, and now let's move on down. Okay, so up here, this is mostly my A Song of Ice and Fire collection and a little fidget cube. So here we have the Game of Thrones, A Clash of Kings, A Storm of Swords Part 1 and 2. For some reason, this edition split them up in 2 books, which is kind of annoying. And then we have Feast for Crows and A Dance with Dragons. Where is Winds of Winter, George R. R. Martin? Please, it's been forever. Here I have an anthology edited by George R. R. Martin and Garden Dozois called Rogues, and it includes stories by Gillian Flynn, Neil Gaiman, Patrick Rothfuss, Joe Abercrombie, Connie Walsh, and Scott Lynch. Yeah, Patrick Rothfuss has a nice story about Bast in here, so if you've never read that, I suggest you look it up because it's quite good. And here I have Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell by Susanna Clarke. Then moving on to this shelf, we have a random 3DS Pokemon game here. And we have some little Danish figurines. These things are quite popular in Denmark for some reason. And I have some more Stranger Things figurines. This is one of Will, and this is Mike and 11. We have a special, but not as special as I thought, edition of The Name of the Wind by Patrick Rothfuss. Then I have The Emperor's Soul by Brandon Sanderson. School for Good and Evil by Soman Chainani. This shouldn't really be on like my favorites shelf, but it's just here randomly. Binti by Nidhi Okorafor. Slow Regard of Silent Things by Patrick Rothfuss. And then we have the Kingkiller Chronicles, The Name of the Wind, and The Wise Man's Fear. Whereas the third book, Patrick Rothfuss, same thing, it's been forever. Then we have the first 3 books in the Mistborn series by Brandon Sanderson, Final Empire. Then we have the first 3 books of the Mistborn series by Brandon Sanderson, Final Empire, Hero of Ages, and The Well of Ascension, in the wrong order, I forgot. Then I have the first book in the second trilogy of the Mistborn series. This is Alloy of Law, also by Brandon Sanderson. Then I have the Reckoners series by Brandon Sanderson, Steelheart, Firefight, and Calamity. Really good YA sci-fi series. Definitely recommend it. And then I have The Arithmetist, also by Brandon Sanderson. This is also kind of a YA. My cat is going crazy. And then we have The Arithmetist by Brandon Sanderson. This is kind of a YA, almost middle grade. No, not really. This is kind of a YA fantasy story, of course, and I think he's planning on releasing more of this series in the future. But it was really good as the only book in that series as of now. Then I have the entire Magicians series, starting with The Magicians, The Magician King, and The Magician's Land. This is one of my favorite fantasy series, and I would highly, highly recommend it if you've never read it before. By Lev Grossman. I don't know if I mentioned that. Then I have the first 2 books in Brandon Sanderson's epic Stormlight Archive, The Way of Kings and Words of Radiance. I have yet to purchase Oathbringer because I want it in the same mass market paperback edition, just so they match, but it's not out yet in that edition. Then I have the complete Farseer trilogy, starting with Assassin's Apprentice, Royal Assassin, and Assassin's Quest, all by Robin Hobb. And then the first book in her following series, The Ship of Magic, of course, also by Robin Hobb. The series is called The Live Ship Traders. The next trilogy is called The Live Ship Traders. Moving down to the next 2 shelves. Here we have the first 4 books in the Wayward Children series by Shannon McGuire, Every Heart a Doorway, Down Among the Sticks and Bones, Beneath the Sugar Sky, and In Lapse and Dream. They are all novellas, the series of novellas, fantasy novellas, and I would highly, highly recommend them. Here I have the duology Six of Crows by Lee Bardugo, Six of Crows, and Crooked Kingdom. I See You by Claire McIntosh, which is, I think, a thriller I have yet to read this one. Promise of Blood by Brian McClellan. And I have the first 2 volumes of the Rhaeria Revelations by Michael J. Sullivan, Theft of Swords and Rise of Empire. The Eon Iona Duology by Alison Goodman. The first book in the First Law trilogy called The Blade Itself by Joe Abercrombie. The first book in the Raven's Shadow series by Anthony Ryan called Bloodsong. Really good, this one. The first book in the Great Coats series by Sebastian de Castell called Traitor's Blade. The first 4 books in the Throne of Glass series by Sarah J. Maas, Throne of Glass, Crown of Midnight, Airfire, and Queen of Shadows. I have not read Queen of Shadows yet, and I'm a bit lukewarm on this series, to be fair, but I will at least read Queen of Shadows at some point. Then also by Sarah J. Maas, I have the first book in her next series called A Court of Thorns and Roses by Sarah J. Maas. I have not read this one also. Then I have the first 2 books in the Witchland series by Susan Dennard, Truth Witch and Wind Witch. Then I have the Lord of the Rings series here and The Hobbit by J.R.R. Tolkien, of course. So The Hobbit, Fellowship of the Ring, The Two Towers, and The Return of the King. Then I have the first 3 books in the Wheel of Time series by Robert Jordan, The Eye of the World, The Great Hunt, and The Dragon Reborn. And no, I have not yet read this series, even though I really want to. But I will get to it soon. I promise. I know it's good. And then the other side of this row of shelves, we have the first book in the Alexa Tarabotti series called Soulless by Gail Carriger, The Night Circus by Erin Morgenstern, Rebel of the Sands by Alwyn Hamilton. This is also a first book in a trilogy, but I have yet to purchase or read the other 2. The first 2 books in... what is this series called? The first 2 books in... I'm not sure if this series has a name, but it's The Long Way to a Small Angry Planet by Becky Chambers and its sequel, A Closed and Common Orbit. I love The Long Way to a Small Angry Planet. I have not read its sequel yet. The Gentleman's Guide to Vice and Virtue by Mackenzie Lee. A very unexpectedly amazing story, full of adventure and humor, and I loved it. Really good. Demon Road by Derek Landy. I have not read this one, and I've heard a lot of great things about Derek Landy. He has a series called Skullduggery Pleasant, if I'm not mistaken, which is really popular, but I have not read that one or this one. The first book in the Lunar Chronicles by Marissa Meyer, Cinder. The first book in the Lady Trent series by Marie Brennan called A Natural History of Dragons. The first book in the Raven Cycle series by Maggie Stiefvater, The Raven Boys. Really good. I need to continue on with this series. The Light Tree by Frances Hardinge. I have also not read this one yet. Ready Player One by Ernest Cline. I love this book. The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy by Douglas Adams. Also really love this book. I have yet to read the other books in the series though. I should do that. And last on this shelf is Uprooted by Naomi Novik. Okay, now we're down to the 3rd shelf and first section. Right here we have 2 Agatha Christie books, And Then There Were None and Murder on the Orient Express. We have 3 little black library edition classics. We have H.G. Wells's The Sea Raiders, Edgar Allan Poe's A Modern Detective, and Jane Austen's Lady Susan. A Christmas Carol by Charles Dickens, My Not So Perfect Life by Sophie Kinsella, The Miniaturist by Jessie Burton, All the Light We Cannot See by Anthony Doerr, The Secret History by Donna Tartt, Gone Girl by Gillian Flynn, The Book Thief by Marcus Zuzak, The Unseen World by Liz Moore, Bodies of Water by V.H. Leslie, Neverwhere by Neil Gaiman, Ender's Game by Orson Scott Card, one of the books in the Discworld series by Terry Pratchett called Mort, The Great Gatsby by F. Scott Fitzgerald, and finally in this section, The Giver by Lois Lowry. Now we are in my contemporary shelf, although I have some stuff that isn't contemporary here, so let's start with those first. Here, a new release, Sky Without Stars by Jessica Brody and Joanne Rendell. This is book 1 of the System Divine series, and this looks really interesting. I haven't read it yet. Then we have down here, and not next to its brothers, we have Brandon Sanderson's Skyward, the first book in the Claim the Stars series. The only reason why it's down here is because it's a big hardback and it doesn't really fit up there, but I should probably move it up there. The Oyster Thief by Sonia Faruqi, Shadow of the Fox by Julie Kagawa, The Knife of Never Letting Go by Patrick Ness, and Children of Blood and Bone by Tomi Adeyemi. So these were all the fantasy books that were on this shelf. Everything else is contemporary. The Serpent King by Jeff Zentner, one of my absolute favorite contemporary books. I would highly, highly recommend this. One of Us is Lying by Karen M. McManus. All the Bright Places by Jennifer Niven. Then we have all of John Green's solo books, so books that he wrote himself, because he does have a few that he wrote with other people. But we have The Fault in Our Stars, Turtles All the Way Down, Paper Towns, An Abundance of Catherines, and Looking for Alaska. And then the one book that he wrote with someone else is Wool Grayson by John Green and David Levithan. And the other David Levithan book I have is Every Day by David Levithan. Then we have two of the three books in the Anna and the French Kiss trilogy by Stephanie Perkins. I have the first book, Anna and the French Kiss, on Kindle, and then I have Isla and the Happily Ever After and Lola and the Boy Next Door. Call Me By Your Name by Andre Aciman. Me and Earl and the Dying Girl by Jesse Andrews. The Perks of Being a Wallflower by Stephen Chbosky. Wonder by R.J. Palacio. Not quite sure. The Hate You Give by Angie Thomas. I'll Give You the Sun by Jandy Nelson, which is probably my absolute favorite contemporary novel. Another David Levithan book, I forgot I had another one from him. This is Dash and Lily's Book of Dares by David Levithan and Rachel Cohn. Then I have two books from Benjamin Elias Sands, Aristotle and Dante, Discover the Secrets of the Universe, which I loved, and The Inexplicable Logic of My Life, which I didn't love quite as much, but it was still good. Then I have two books by Becky Albert Talley, Simon versus the Homo Sapiens Agenda, which again I absolutely love, and The Upside Down and The Upside of Unrequited, which again I didn't like quite as much. There's a theme here. Then I have three books by Rainbow Rowell, Eleanor Park, Fangirl, and Landline. This one I didn't like so much. It is an adult novel, however, instead of a YA novel, but still, that's not why I didn't like it. I just, I don't know. I was pretty bored. This Song Will Save Your Life by Layla Sales, also one of my favorites. Two books by Alice Oseman, Radio Silence and I Was Born for This. The Miseducation of Cameron Post by Emily M. Danforth. I have not read this one. This is the one with the really cool sprayed edges. Two books by Nicola Yoon, Everything Everything and The Sun Is Also a Star. We Were Liars by E. Lockhart. Since You've Been Gone by Morgan Matson. Just One Day and If I Stay by Gail Foreman. Night Owls by Jen Bennett. And finally on this shelf, Wing Jones by Catherine Weber. Okay, so now we're at the very bottom shelf, the last row of shelves. So I'm sorry if you can't see that well. I tried my best, but it is very difficult to film down here. So this is my non-fiction shelf mostly. So let's start. Everyday Life in Traditional Japan by Charles J. Dunn. Then I have a coloring book. This is The Something Ocean by Joanna Basford. I completely forgot the English title, but this is obviously the Danish title. But you know, it is a coloring book. I'll show you one that I've actually done. I haven't done that many in here, but it is a really nice coloring book. Then I have a chunker here. This is The Ultimate History of Video Games by Stephen L. Kent. This is really good. I kind of read from this every now and again because I never finished it. It's very dense, if you believe it, but it is actually very good. Then I have a Korean lesson book called Korean Made Simple by Billy Go. He's actually a YouTuber. He runs a YouTube channel and he teaches you Korean, and I've actually learned quite a lot of Korean from him, from his YouTube videos. And when I researched some books on Korean, actually his was the most recommended, so you know, maybe check it out if you're interested in learning Korean. I think he does a really good job at teaching it. Then I have one of the most useful writing books there are, really, The Emotion Thesaurus, A Writer's Guide to Character Expression by Angela Ackerman and Becca Puglisi. Really recommend getting this if you're a writer or you're planning on writing anytime. Then I do have a random fiction book here because, again, I lack a lot of space. This is Origin by Dan Brown, and I really hated this one. I am partial to Dan Brown's other books. I think they're a lot of fun. I don't take them too seriously. This one, however, I really wanted to throw out the window, and I'm not sure why I haven't done that yet. The Anatomy of Story by John Truby, another really good writing book. On Writing by Stephen King, a memoir of the craft. This slim little book here called The Elements of Style, 4th edition, by William Strunk and E.B. White. The First 5 Pages, A Writer's Guide to Staying Out of the Rejection Pile by Noah Lukeman. How to Write Dazzling Dialogue, the Fastest Way to Improve Any Manuscript by James Scott Bell. The Emotional Craft of Fiction, How to Write the Story Beneath the Surface by Donald Maas. Self-Editing for Fiction Writers, How to Edit Yourself into Print by Rennie Brown and Dave King. Outlining Your Novel, Map Your Way to Success by K.M. Wieland. Bird by Bird by Anne Lamott. Anne Lamott. The Water Book, The Extraordinary Story of Our Most Ordinary Substance by Alok Jha. I've started reading this. I never actually finished it, but I want to get back to it because it was very interesting. But again, kind of dense. Since, you know, it is about water. Down and Out in Paris and London by George Orwell. This is a collection of essays and short stories, and I simply adored George Orwell's writing. It's just such a pleasure to read, so yeah, this is very good. Anything by George Orwell is very good. And finally on this little shelf is Save the Cat, the last book on screenwriting that you'll ever need by Blake Snyder. Although obviously you can use this for any type of fiction writing. So that was this little shelf, and now moving on to this final part right there. So this is, I think, my messiest shelf because, as you can see, it's just stacked, double stacked, and it's just it's full of stuff. But in any case, let's start. Random map here that I got in a book subscription box, which I think is really cool. I just need to find a place to hang it. Orange Volume 1 and 2 by Ichigo Takano. This is a complete manga series. It's only 2 volumes and it's very, very good. Ouran High School Host Club Volume 1 by Bisco Hattori. Tokyo Ghoul Volume 1 by Sui Ishida. Persepolis Part 1, The Story of a Childhood by Marianne Satrapi, I think. I don't actually know how to pronounce that, I'm sorry. Giant Days Volume 1 by Alison Treeman and Kogar. Lumberjanes Volume 1, Beware the Kitten Holly by Noelle Stevenson, and a few others right here. Paper Girls Volume 1 by Brian K. Vaughan and Cliff Chang. And the first volume of Sandman by Neil Gaiman, Volume 1, Preludes and Nocturnes. So that was a section of sort of graphic novels. Then I have some other random stuff here. I have a little pot with a ton of bookmarks. I order from Book Depository the most, and they pretty much always include a free bookmark with every book you purchase, so I'll never run out of bookmarks, let's be real. Then over here I just have some few random stuff that is not interesting. And what is this? Oh, I think this is a little card I got when I bought myself a cloak from the medieval festival that we have up here in Denmark every year. It's a really cool festival. If you ever have the chance to visit Denmark, I recommend going to the medieval festival that happens every August in Horsens, a city not far from where I live. It's very nice. I think it's the biggest medieval festival in Europe. The Sword of Kaigan, a Theonite war story by M.L. Wang. Give the Dark My Love by Beth Revis. The Diary of a Bookseller by Sean Bithell. Some of these should obviously be in the nonfiction shelf, but there's just no more room. Into Thin Air by John Krakauer, a personal account of the Everest disaster by the author of Into the Wild. To Kill a Mockingbird by Harper Lee. Nothing to Envy, Real Lives in North Korea by Barbara Demick. Really fantastic book on North Korea if you're ever interested in learning more about that. Memoirs of a Geisha by Arthur Golden. Rebecca by Daphne du Maurier. N.W. by Zadie Smith. Book 1 of the Summoner series by Taran Matharu called The Novice. The Man Who Mistook His Wife for a Hat by Oliver Sacks. This is a book about weird maladies and illnesses. Gone by Michael Grant. First book in the Gone series. A Dance of Thieves by Mary E. Pearson. Catwoman Soul Stealer by Sarah J. Maas, also not with the other Sarah J. Maas books because It's a big hardcover. The first two books in the Dresden Files series by Jim Butcher, Stormfront and Full Moon. These should also be on a different shelf. Again, I really need to organize it and make some more space. The Seven Sisters by Lucinda Riley. The Midwich Cuckoos by John Wyndham. The Song Machine, Inside the Hit Factory by John Seabrook. This is a book about pop songs and how they are made. The Catcher in the Rye by J.D. Salinger. Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde by Robert Louis Stevenson. The Good Immigrant, edited by Nikesh Shukla. This is a collection of essays by immigrant British writers. Eleanor Oliphant is Completely Fine by Gail Honeyman. The Secret Life of Bees by Sue Monk Kidd. The Traveling Cat Chronicles by Hiro Arikawa. Why We Sleep. The New Science of Sleep and Dreams by Matthew Walker. Chernobyl Prayer by Svetlana Alexievich. This won the Nobel Prize in 2015, and it is obviously about the Chernobyl disaster. In Order to Live by Yeonmi Park, a North Korean girl's journey to freedom. Little Fires Everywhere by Celeste Ng. And finally, on this shelf, and on this entire bookshelf really, is Northern Lights by Philip Pullman, the first book in his Dark Materials. I'm so tired. Right, so there you have it, guys. That was my bookshelf tour. I am honestly exhausted. This took so long to film, and I know it's going to take even longer to edit, but that's just how it is. In any case, I hope you guys enjoyed peeking through all of the books on my shelf, and let me know what books you want me to talk about from this shelf that maybe I haven't talked before. Preferably something I've already read, but just throw it at me and we'll see what I can do. Anyway, thanks so much for watching, guys, and I'll see you next time with a new video. Bye!